So as a firm, you're taking on risk by, placing bets and certain, and I get that you're kind of casting a much wider net than most.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but you're still taking, there's opportunity cost, right? So
Totally.
and it's going to take time for you to, if you're collecting a percentage of fees based on transactions that happen on the protocol,
Yeah.
that's going to ramp up as people kind of, so you're obviously incentivized to promote it that way. Are there other incentives though, in terms of like, hey, I'm coming in and I'm providing, seed capital, and I'm providing, like, et cetera, et cetera. I would imagine that there's benefit, like just like these people, a lot of their value creation, like the equity side of it is through the
Yeah.
pre-mine or whatever it is. And then they're
Hmm.
hoping that they get a token at a penny and it becomes worth $1 later
Yeah.
on. Are there
Yeah.
incentives for getting involved with these protocols that early? I know there's a tension. You mentioned there's good pre-mines and bad pre-mines. So I would imagine there's a PR component to this about the
Hmm.
degree to which they incentivize validators like you all, but
Yep.
does that kind of
Totally.
stuff happen to you where you get to benefit from a revenue perspective and an equity perspective?
100%. So, I mean, I said earlier, the fun thing about the space is incentive design. In the startup world, we have pretty standard terms now. When you're a founder and you start a company and a VC invests in you, you have a 4-year vesting with a 1-year cliff. Like this, very, very standard stuff, right?
Yeah.
In crypto, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's vesting, sometimes there's not. Sometimes it's unlocking daily. There's all sorts of different sort of things here. And so one of the things, like I said earlier, we try to avoid bad projects as opposed to try to pick the winners, right? So some of the tells that it's maybe a bad project is there's no concept of vesting. We are actually okay working with an anonymous team. Some people really wince at this idea, like, I need to know who the people are, I need to run background checks. We're okay working with an anonymous team if the incentives are aligned correctly. And so to me, like, if you say, like, okay, the team is giving themselves 75% of the token and they're 25% to try to bring more people on, like, that's a bad sign, right? And so, but these things happen all the time. And so I would just say,
of like good percentages generally, are there kind of rules of thumb that are kind of starting to emerge around that stuff?
I would say we're not there yet, but we see everything. But I would say, the things that I like to see a lot are not, if there's a big chunk of the token allocation, which is allowing people to earn it as opposed to being given away. Yeah. So one way you can earn it is through being a validator. Another way you can earn it is through, there's like this, we haven't even touched on this concept of governance, but how you actually control the future development. But in general, that's my what I look for is like, how much will people be able to earn into this network as opposed to buy into this network? That's something I look for. And so, this probably will become outdated later, but for me, if teams that give themselves more than like 25% of the token supply, that's usually a red flag for me. Investors who own more than like 25 or 30%, and that's usually a flag for me. But everything is really specific to each situation.